Could Bob Huggins coach in college basketball again in the future? And an in-state recruit for West Virginia basketball has received a major bump in his star ratings. We're going to talk about both of those topics in this episode here on Who's from the Hills, and we're going to do that right now. What is up, and welcome to Who's from the Hills, part of the Couz's Corner family of channels here on YouTube. I want to thank you for joining the show. Right now, I want to jump into the first topic of this episode, which is Bob Huggins and his comments about whether or not he would ever coach again. He appeared on a podcast recently. He appeared on the Says Who Sports podcast recently and was interviewed by the host there. And it was a very interesting interview, very entertaining interview. I recommend you check it out. But when asked specifically near the end of the interview about whether he would ever coach again, here's what Bob Huggins had to say. And I quote, "I think in the right situation, I would love to, but I don't want to do it the way it was done in some places that I worked. I think it's about young people. You go to college to make something of yourself." And then he continued to kind of expand on that thought of making something of yourself, going to class, all the life lessons it teaches you, all that. And and that's all great, and it's all accurate. The part, though, that I wanted to focus on here is the part where he says, "I don't want to do it the way it was done in some places that I worked." The only thing, and when you tie that to the rest of the statement there, the rest of the answer, it makes me think that he was referring to West Virginia and the fact that they were having to go out and pay a lot of NIL money to get recruits. We all remember when Huggins, before he was fired or asked to resign, I should say, allegedly, I guess I better say that because he claims he didn't resign. Anyway, before Bob Huggins allegedly resigned from West Virginia University, he was having to go out and get players through the portal, and there were rumors out there that they were paying pretty big money via NIL from the Country Roads Trust to get some of these players. And, Bob Huggins is an old school coach, and we've seen coaches in his era, in his generation, like the Mike Krzyzewskis, the Roy Williamses of the world. We've seen those guys retire for the simple reason they did not want to deal with NIL in the portal and the way college basketball and college sports are today. So when I hear Bob Huggins say that, I'm not trying to put words in his mouth here, but just as a fan who was listening to this from the outside, that's the way I took it. So if that's the case, then what jobs would there be out there where he doesn't have to deal with that? The only thing that comes to mind is, would he coach at a lower level? Would he coach at a mid-major program? Then when you think about mid-major programs, they're losing their players every year to Power 4, or I guess in college basketball's case, Power 5 programs. So how can you say a mid-major would even work? So would he want to coach at a lower level, like a D2, D3? I don't know. It's interesting. It was an interesting comment, but it makes me think that maybe Huggins is willing to coach because he loves to teach the game of basketball. Bob Huggins is a teacher. He's a developer of young men. He's a developer of basketball players. He likes to teach fundamentals. He was always known for bringing in guys who were some sort of diamonds in the rough type guys, developing them into great basketball players and great young men as well. So I think if he's ever going to coach again, I think that's what he would want to get back to. If I'm a D2 program out there or I'm a mid-major program out there, I may reach out to Bob Huggins if I have an opening. What attention it would bring to your program if you have a guy like a Bob Huggins leading your program. You would be able to get talent there, and you would be a very competitive team, in my opinion, especially at the mid-major or D2 level. Now, maybe there's something, maybe I'm misinterpreting his comments there. I want to know what you think in the comments about these words by Bob Huggins. What do you think he meant when he said, "I don't want to do it the way it was done in some places that I worked"? Again, he didn't specify which job. Was it the Cincinnati job he was referring to? Was it the West Virginia job? Was it Kansas State? I don't know. You tell me. Now, the second topic of the show is the one that really, really gets me excited. And that is an in-state basketball recruit for West Virginia, Braydon Hawthorne, per Chris Anderson over at 24/7 Sports, has received a massive boost on his star rating. And the reason I say massive is because it goes further than just a star rating. He has been bumped from an 86 graded 3-star to a 90 graded 4-star. And that may not sound like a lot. It's only 4 points. But in recruiting and in star rating and in grading, that's a pretty big jump. But it goes further than that. Braydon Hawthorne is a 6'8", 175-pound senior who attends Huntington Prep in Huntington, West Virginia. Ironically, though, this young man is from Beckley, West Virginia, which is just right up the road from where I live. It's right here in the southern part of West Virginia. He's a southern West Virginia kid. And when he committed to West Virginia, he's actually already signed, but when he committed, he was not even rated. And after he committed, just a few weeks later, he received a 3-star rating from 24/7 in an 86 grade. And at that time, he only had offers from Old Dominion and Florida Gulf Coast. So he had no major offers from any P4 programs or P5 programs in college basketball, only mid-majors. Now, 24/7 did say at that time he had a lot of upside and his rating could improve over time. They really liked the young man, but they just weren't willing to give him a higher rating yet. And just to let you know, too, I will leave a link to this article, this 24/7 article, in the description of this video. If you want to check it out for yourself, I'm not going over the entire article. I'm just going over the highlights here to focus on this Braydon Hawthorne and what he's bringing to the table. But anyway, 24/7 did say in that write-up that they expected his rating to improve, and boy, did it. A few weeks ago at a national event called Holiday Hoops Giving, it was right after Thanksgiving, 24/7's national analyst Travis Branham came away raving about the ability of Braydon Hawthorne. Here were some of the highlights that he said in the write-up about Hawthorne. He says he was one of the standouts of the event and showcased his versatility and high upside. He showed a smooth jump shot and showed flashes of being able to take people off the dribble. He had prototypical size, height, and length. Said he plays hard and plays the right way. So that means he's going to bring effort. And we all know that that's one of the things that Darian DeVries looks at is when he's looking at these players. He wants somebody that's going to bring a lot of effort and a lot of energy on the defensive end of the floor. And apparently, Hawthorne does that. He also has great length. He's a 6'8" player, so he brings some height to the table as well. So he can shoot it. He brings length, and he brings effort and hard play. Sounds to me like he's a great fit for Darian DeVries and his team, right? Let's keep going. One of the other highlights that Hawthorne pointed out, or I'm sorry, that Brandon pointed out, he said if Hawthorne puts in the work, he could prove to be a steal in the 2025 class for Coach DeVries. He went on to talk about how apparently Coach DeVries is planning to redshirt Hawthorne, give him time to develop physically, which he did mention a couple different times that his body needs to catch up with his ability. And once that happens, he could be a really, really special player. And after this write-up and after this analysis and after Branham got to see him in person at this event, they bumped him from an 86 to a 90 rating, making him a 4-star recruit and a top 150 recruit in the 2025 recruiting class. So that's a big deal in my opinion. Now, West Virginia now has 3 commits, 3 signees for the 2025 class. And Braydon Hawthorne plus Kelvin Odie plus Trent McClain are all top 150 recruits in this class. That's a big deal. How often in the past has West Virginia been able to get 3 top 150 recruits in the same recruiting class? It doesn't happen very often. And the cool thing about it is, according to this write-up by 24/7, he may not be done rising up the ratings yet. He could get even higher. He could become a top 100 recruit. And according to Director of Scouting at 24/7, Adam Finkelstein, he believes Hawthorne could end up being a top 50 recruit by the time it's all said and done. Could you imagine West Virginia having a kid who becomes a top 50 recruit in the entire 2025 class to go along with 2 kids who are top 150 recruits, one a top 100 recruit in Kelvin Odie, and then the top 150 recruit in Trent McClain. So kudos. This just goes to show the ability Darian DeVries has that he has shown throughout his career, the ability that he has to recruit high school players and his ability to find talent. So kudos to Coach DeVries and his staff for finding not only this young man in Hawthorne, but also Kelvin Odie and Trent McClain. And the fact that they were the first Power 4 school to offer him shows their ability to find talent and recruit talent and spot these guys that other coaches may not see, spot things in these young men that other coaches may not see. I think it's a knack some coaches have better than others, and it appears, at least for now, that Darian DeVries has it. When you look at the fact he got KJ Tenner wasn't recruited by any major programs. Drake was the largest program to offer KJ Tenner, at least based on my research and my memory of the research I did several months back. And he felt strong enough about Tenner's ability that he brought him with him to West Virginia. So, and again, KJ Tenner has shown flashes of being a really, really good player, even though he's only about 6 foot tall. We've seen what Jonathan Powell can do and how he can shoot the basketball as a true freshman. Yes, both of those young men need to get stronger. They need to spend a lot more time in the weight room, but they will. And they will come along physically and be ready to compete at a high level, in my opinion, for Coach DeVries in this West Virginia program. And I see no reason that the Braydon Hawthorne, Kelvin Odie, Trent McClain can't do the same. And what's even more special about Braydon Hawthorne is he's from right here in the state of West Virginia. We now have a top 150 recruit, potentially someone who could be a top 100 or even top 50 recruit in the 2025 class sitting right here in our own state. And Darian DeVries and his staff were able to keep this young man home. So kudos to them for that. I cannot wait to see this young man suit up in the old gold and blue. Cannot wait to see him team up with Trent McClain, to team up with Kelvin Odie, to team up with Jonathan Powell, KJ Tenner, Amani Hansberry, Sincere Harris, assuming those guys stay around, and others from this team. Cannot wait to see it. It's going to be exciting. The future looks really bright for West Virginia Mountaineer basketball as we sit here getting ready to start Big 12 play in 24, but looking even further down the road at 25 and beyond, the future looks really bright, and I'm excited as a Mountaineer fan. Let me know what you think about Braydon Hawthorne and his ratings bump that he received from 24/7 Sports. Also, what do you think about Bob Huggins' comments? Am I reading too much into it? Let me know what you think. Do you think he'll coach again? And if so, will it be at a lower level? I want to hear your thoughts. I ask that you please hit that thumbs up button on this video if you thought I earned it, if you liked what I had to say, if you liked this video. Also, please subscribe to the channel here. I'm at just over 1,800, on my way to 1,900, soon to be 2,000 subs here at Hoops from the Hills. Again, it's part of the Couz's Corner family of channels, so come over and check out Couz's Corner, where I cover West Virginia Mountaineer football, as well as the Big 12 and conference realignment. And if you want West Virginia basketball coverage, this is the place for you. Stay right here. And there's another video for you right here in the corner of your screen, so check it out right now.